What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to that Flight Sim channel. This is Captain Gonzo on a nice and cold, breezy morning here in Detroit. This is Kilo Delta Tango Whiskey. Beautiful scenery here. Of course, a heavy Delta hub. And we are here somewhere far away from our plane for some reason. Don't know why my exterior walk-around mode, whatever it's called, spawned all the way over there. But you can see we are in the CJ4. We're here to revisit it and check it out. We finally have a fixed livery. None of the annoying flickering that we experienced before in the last video we put out maybe about a month or two ago. So anyways, let's do a quick walk around here. You guys know I like to make this quick, especially when this thing likes to start lagging. You can see it already is kind of getting funky. Don't know why it does that. Oh dear God, this is really irritating. Here we go. Let's close the hatches. Alright, it seems to be kind of smoothing out, I think. I apologize, guys. I still haven't figured out why this happens with default aircraft. In contrast, I'll hop into payware aircraft like the Phoenix, the Anybuilt's A350. Well, maybe not the A350. That one's been buggy as heck. But, yeah, this is detrimental. Alright, anyways, we are good to go. Pre-flight on the outside looks good. Again, I apologize. I know some of you like to watch all this, but the reality is, it's just annoying. Checking the fuel cap, single point pressure refueling here, making sure it's good. Co-pilot, as always, hanging out inside, not doing much to help us. But let's go ahead and get this puppy started. So let's hop in. Okay, here we are in a cold and dark cockpit. Let me adjust the camera. Okay, I think we're finally situated. It seems like the sim is finally running a little smoother. So again, I have no idea what's going on, but let's go ahead, hide the yoke. Let's get ready to fire up the CJ4. So let's go ahead and get that battery on. Verify the left and right generators are in the on position. We'll arm the emergency lights. We'll go ahead and set the avionics power to dispatch just to get our EFB, or not our EFB, but our CDU on. Make sure our ECAS here, our engine indicating and caution advisory system, is on here so we can see. You can see your systems page down here showing your electrics. Let's go ahead and get that beacon light on. Let's make sure everybody around us know that we are getting ready to fire up. So let's go ahead and start with engine 2. So we'll come down here, engine starter. Press that. Keep an eye out on our N2. Slowly rising. There's about 12. Ignition and run. Close the cover. And remember, just like we covered in our first video showing the full flight tutorial, you will see that the fuel boost pump is autonomous. So you can see that it is on right now for the right side as the ignition cycle goes through. Check out N1. ITT is rising. Everything is looking good. There we go. Right fuel boost pump has gone off. Looks like we've got a stable N1. I like that. Let's repeat the process for the left engine, or engine number 1. Let's flip the cover. Got distracted there looking at other values. Should have been monitoring my N2. Let's close that little cover. It gets a little tricky. There we go. Okay, looks like we've got 2 good engine starts here. Let's go ahead and switch our avionics to on now. Set up our standby flight displays. Make sure that is on. You can see AHRS is aligning, so we got to give it a few seconds. Now, while that's happening, let's go ahead and set up our seatbelt signs and safety lights on. Let's go ahead and cycle flaps. Make sure they are indeed coming down. You can see our flaps position indicator here on top of your ECAS. 35 degrees. Let's go ahead and bring it back up to 15 degrees for our takeoff config. There we go. Okay, it looks like we've got a good live jet. While we're sitting here, let's go ahead and turn on our pitot-static heat. Let me just glance over the panels here, make sure everything is good. I don't see anything out of the norm. Okay, well now let's go to the fun stuff, right? This is what we all always like to see. This is what we're here for. It's time to set up our CDU for our flight plan. So let me bring up my SimBrief dispatch. Here we go. So again, this is using the SimBrief dispatch. And if you don't use SimBrief dispatch, you can always use your flight planner here built into the simulator. Go to your route, load all your fun stuff. However, I don't like to use this. I find SimBrief makes life much easier and it integrates well. So let's look at our flight plan. We are ExecJet 324 departing Detroit, heading to Ronald Reagan in Washington, D.C., DCA, with an alternate of Philadelphia. Our aircraft is the C-25C CJ4. We'll be cruising at 45,000 feet, 4 passengers, 2,300 pounds of fuel, 470 of cargo, yada, yada, yada. Now let's look at our route. So what you want to do here is on the CDU, you can see the route, right? We have to program that in, but before we do that, let's go ahead and initialize this. Check your nav database. Looks like I am slightly expired there, 19 March. Oh well, hopefully everything's okay. So we'll press Precision Init. Go next to the Global Navigation Satellite System. Press that line select key. That's it. Now we go to FPLN for flight plan. Origin, KDTW. And destination, KDCA. Alternate, KPHL, Philadelphia. Now we gotta tell it its originating runway. Let's go ahead and execute that. Just make sure that it knows. Let's go to departure and arrival. So departure, looks like we're expecting 3 left via the lids 3. So let's go ahead and cycle through. Let's go, actually 3 left. So here it is. Let's press next. Lids 3. And we're looking for the gravy transition. Execute that. Now we can go back to the flight plan page. You can see originating runway 3 left via the lids 3 SID, standard instrument departure, gravy. Let me go ahead and throw my flight number while I'm here. 324. Press next. And then from Gravy, we go direct to Bucko, which is part of the Freedom 6 Star or terminal arrival. So now that is a pretty short route because this flight's only about 1 hour and 37 minutes, or 1 hour and 26 minutes block, or just under an hour airtime. So you can type in Bucko, right? So you can just go in here, type in Bucko, and it would be direct, execute. Now we can go back to departure arrival, press the departure arrival index. That's going to bring you back to the parent menu. Make sure you select DCA for your arrival. And again, let's look for that Freedom 6 runway 1 arrival. So let's set up the ILS, Freedom 6, Bucko, and let's do Catherine for our initial approach fix there. Execute. Now you can either press legs or press the push button here, and you can verify your route. So you can see there's a discontinuity between Gravy and Bucko. So all you have to do is select that next waypoint after the discontinuity, press previous, find the empty blocks here, discontinuity, press that button, execute, and that's it. And now your route is set up. You can see our altitude constraints are set up nicely. We've got everything, including your missed approach procedures for the ILS at runway 1 at DCA. So now let me go back to my flight plan. Let me verify everything looks good. Everything looks a-okay. Perfect. Now we go to the performance in it, right? We got to set up our weights, our cruise altitude, and all that fun stuff. Now, as you can see, the flight plan calls for 2,300 pounds. I've got 2,500, so another 200 and change pounds, just under 200 pounds of fuel, because we're going to be sitting here talking a little bit. So we'll do 4 passengers. Yeah, that sounds right. Sorry. Let me clear that out. Lost myself here. There we go. 4 passengers. Press that twice. There we go. In cargo, we'll say, I think we had, 470. We'll execute that, and then our flight level is 450. We'll set that up, go to takeoff. And now we've got to get our weather conditions. So while we have this page open here, let's go ahead and go to the secondary or our co-pilot CDU. Go to the tune page. And let's tune into ATIS here at KDTW or Detroit Metropolitan Airport. ATIS is on 118.125, so 118.125.
I advise on course heading, altitude, and if flight following is requested. Read back all runway and hold short instructions. Advise on initial contact. You have information Quebec.
Just listening to it all
Detroit
over again.
Metropolitan Wayne County Airport, information Quebec. 0353 Zulu. Wind 310 at 4. Visibility 10. Sky conditions, view at 5,000 feet. Temperature -1. Dew point -11. Altimeter 3012. Density altitude -1300 feet. Arriving and departing runways 22 left, 22 right, 21 left, 27 right, 21 right. Advise on course heading, altitude, and if flight following is requested. Read back all runway and hold short.
Alright, so we've got information Quebec. Looks like we might have a change of our departing runway. No big deal. We'll figure it out as we get our clearance. So our clearance frequency is on 120.65. I'm going to go ahead and give him a call. Keep in mind, we are using SayIntentions AI, which is our favorite AI ATC program for flight sim. And so right now is going to see, this is going to be our first time we do it for a full IFR flight. So let's see how it goes. Before I do that, let me just verify my performance. So you can see, just based on the ATIS information, I put my wind, outside air temperature of -1. Remember, that's always in Celsius. And our QNH, which is your local altimeter. We've got runway 3 left. Once you update the winds, it'll tell you what the relative wind is down that runway. I put the runway slope at 0. Don't really care about the slope right now. And then the runway condition, you can always cycle between dry and wet. We'll keep it in dry. Go to next. Anti-ice, let's see, -1. The sun's kind of coming out. We'll keep it off. Takeoff flaps set to 15. And you can see that our takeoff distance there is showing 1,900 feet out of 8,400 or 8,500 feet available. Here's our V-speeds. V1, 95 knots, rotate at 98. V2, 113, and a target airspeed of climbing of 140. We'll press send. We'll wait, it says in progress. Once it shows complete, you can then take a look at your VREFs here on the PFD. There they are. Now you've got your speeds programmed. Click next. Everything looks good. We are well within the performance envelope here, so our maximum takeoff weight is 17,110 pounds, and we're at 13,418, so we are good. So let me grab my pen, grab my notebook, and get ready to copy my clearance to DCA. Detroit clearance, good morning. Executive 324 with Quebec, requesting IFR to DCA.
I am working on that clearance. Stand by.
Okay then. Gotta give him a few seconds.
Exec Jet 324. Cleared to Reagan via the LIDS 3 departure. Then is filed. Climb and maintain 8,000. Expect flight level 450 minutes after departure. Departure on 124.05 squawk 3115. Expect runway 3 left.
Alright, Exec 324 is cleared to the Ronald Reagan Airport as filed. Via the LUDS 3 departure, then is filed on initial climb. Maintain 8,000. Expect 45010 minutes after departure. Departure frequency 124.05 squawk 3115. And we'll expect 3 left for the departure.
Exec Jet 324, read back correct.
Awesome, so we've got a good read back. Let's go ahead and spit that squawk code into the ATC1. That's your squawk right here. So use your scratch pad using the keypad 3115. We'll go ahead and switch the TCAS modes. Let's go to TCAS. Let's go to traffic advisory for now. We'll go back to the tune page. And now that we've got our clearance, we are good. We can still expect runway 3 left. Let's go ahead and find that ground frequency, which is on 119.25. So 119.25. There we go. And now we get ready for a hefty rate back. So let me give him a call. Let's put this away for now. And Detroit Ground, good morning. ExecJet 324, ready to taxi.
ExecJet 324, Metro Ground, taxi to runway 3 left via Mike, cross runway 27 right, then Mike 1.
Taxiing to runway 3 left via Mike, cross 27 right, then Mike 1 for ExecJet 324. Cool. Mike crossing 27 right. And again, keep in mind, they have cleared us to cross that runway, wherever it is. Now, I am unfamiliar with this airport, so I'm going to have to look up the airport really quick here. Let's go to Flight Planner. Let's see. Press back. KDTW. Go to the maps. Choose FAA. And let's look for that airport. Where is it? Here it is. Airport diagram. Okay, so here's 3 left, right? We are taxiing out of the North Terminal area here. I think this is where we're parked. I'm just taking a guess. Again, never flown in or out of this airport. So yeah, we'll come out, make that right turn onto Mike. There is 27 right, right here. We'll cross that. And then Mike 1 to hold short of 3 left. Let's go ahead and turn our taxi light, nav light on. Let's get that yoke back on. And let's release the parking brake. And let's begin this taxi. We're going to run into some ground equipment here. Always fun. There's 8,000. And this should be taxiway Mike as we're exiting the ramp. Looking left. Looking right. While we're taxiing, let's go ahead and check our trims. So you can see our trim indicators here on top of the ECAS. Aileron and rudder trim are neutral. They're centered in the green. Let's go ahead and get some nose up pitch trim. So using whatever key command you've got, go ahead and set it. Make sure it's in the green for takeoff. Don't have any CAS alerts, so I like that. Let's go ahead and enable that flight director while we're on the ground. Alrighty, and then we'll see you guys as we're holding short of 3 left. Okay, so we're holding short 3 left. One thing I forgot to do was to reset my altimeter, so don't forget your barrel knob here to make sure your altimeter is set to 3012 in this case, and don't forget about your backup attitude indicator as well. Make sure that is properly set, so 3012 verified. Now let's just do a quick brief on this departure so you can see. I hate how we are in the portrait mode here, and even if I go to the horizontal, the actual page is still in that orientation. So anyways, we're going to depart heading 3 left, continue climbing via heading 036, then 074. We've got to cross Best at or above 2,500, but below 230 knots, and then from there we'll turn into Swindle, which we should be crossing at or below 7,000. So we'll have to keep an eye out for that. Let me just look down at my flight plan or the legs page. So let's go down here. You can see the altitude and speed constraints have already been loaded. So 2,500 and above, 230, and then 7,000 or below for Swindle. Now what we got to do is contact the tower, which is on, let's see, 118.4. 118.4. And then what I like to do is go ahead and set up my departure frequency as my I put that in my scratch pad. That way, when I'm airborne, I just have to press the line select key and switch that radio. So 124.05. Let's go to TCAS. Let's go to resolution advisory there. Go back to the tune page. You can see 124.05 on the scratch pad, ready to go. We are on tower frequency 118.4. Let's go ahead and give them a call. Let's let them know we are ready. Just one final check. Don't think we're missing anything. All right, here we go. Detroit Tower, good morning. Exec check 324, holding short of 3 left, ready for departure.
Exec jet 324, Metro Tower, runway 3 left, winds 105 at 4, RNAV best, cleared for takeoff.
RNAV to best, cleared for takeoff, 3 left for exec check 324. All right, let's get those landing lights and strobe lights on. Nobody on the approach end. Runway is clear. It is all ours. Let's go ahead and press the elapsed time. Start the timer. And let's get rolling. Takeoff thrust is set. Airspeed's alive. There goes the crazy roll again. Wow. And we're flying now. Let's reduce power just a bit here. Let's go ahead and turn right for heading 036.
Exec jet 324, contact departure.
Switching to departure, exec jet 324. Flaps coming up. Let's go ahead and spit that number in there. We're still hand flying this sucker. Let's continue inbound to best. And Detroit departure, good morning. Exec jet 324 climbing 2,800 for 8,000.
Exec jet 324, Detroit departure. Radar contact. Direct lids. Climb and maintain flight level 200.
Direct lids, climb and maintain flight level 200, exec jet 324. Let's go ahead and set that altitude up to 200 or 20,000 feet. There's 20,000. Let's go here to our flight plan, or the legs page. We'll grab lids, throw it into best, execute, and now we can turn on the autopilot and let it do its thing. So we'll go ahead and press autopilot, yaw damper, go to nav. Let's go to flight level change there. So I'm a little concerned with the takeoff once again. You can see the winds were not really too much of a factor. I mean, they were at 4 knots, and you saw how the aircraft started once again tumbling left and right, and that was a horrible departure on my end. Maybe I forgot the crosswind correction yet again, but I just find it kind of odd. Again, with 4 knots, that's not really a big factor there, but it could be me, so I apologize for that. But we're just doing this live, as always. I like to keep it honest. I don't like to hide anything that I do wrong. As we're cruising along or climbing, let's take a look at our map. We're inbound direct lids. So again, ATC said, hey, we've got you on the radar scope. Go ahead, go direct lids. So I grabbed the lids waypoint, pressed the line select key, threw it up here instead of best, and then that tells the FMS, or the flight management system, hey, I want to go here directly. You can always press direct as well and then select that waypoint, but this is easier so you don't have to go cycling through. All right, and as we are climbing, ATC has instructed us to go ahead and climb up to 26,000 feet, flight level 260. We've got our throttles set to the climb and detent, so you can see we've got TO, takeoff, climb, and cruise. We are in climb. We're still in flight level change mode, holding 233 knots.
324, climb and maintain flight level 310.
Climb and maintain flight level 310, exec check 324. You can see now they're clearing us up to 31,000 feet. But again, we're still in flight level change. Thrust is set for climb. You can even see it here on your N1. You can see climb in the green letters. And look at that, we're climbing at 3,800 feet a minute. Nothing that the CJ4 can't handle. This thing likes to climb very, very quickly. So we should be able to get to 45,000 feet in no time. There we go. We're crossing transition level through 18,000. So we will go ahead and press this button. Right click on it. Set it to standard. Forgot it doesn't work on this. So let's do it manually. 29902 is your standard. Again, don't forget that as you cross over flight level 180 if you're flying in the United States. Otherwise, verify with your airport charts and your departures, and you should see your transition levels there. I know there's some areas in the world that they have some funky transition levels. Well, so far so good. I can tell you that the CJ4 is behaving nominally besides the takeoff stuff, so I'll have to do some more digging into that and see if it's just something I'm doing wrong. I do have rudder pedals, and I typically never struggle with takeoffs or landings for that matter, so I'll have to figure that one out. But again, I like to keep it honest. I like to show you guys everything as I am doing it so that you don't think I'm editing stuff out and making everything perfect, all right? We're not professionals, we're not experts. We're just having some fun here along with you guys. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to our cruise altitude of 45,000 feet here, flight level 450. We're just letting the airspeed build up a little bit here, and then we'll set our thrust down to cruise. So ATC has told us to expect the Freedom 6 arrival, which is what we've programmed into the CDU, and it is part of our flight plan, of course. And they said to expect a descent in about 20 minutes. However, let's take a look at something here. And keep in mind, the cabin altitude advisory is on. The cabin pressure system was catching up there. I don't know if I was just climbing a bit too fast. I don't know what's going on, but we're going to ignore that. We haven't died yet, so we still got oxygen, so we are A-okay for now. But taking a look at our secondary MFD here on the right side, you can see we've got the top of descent, or TOD, showing about 12 minutes or 80 nautical miles. So if you're wondering how you can display that, well, let's go ahead and find that out. What you want to do is on either of your CDUs, remember your right CDU is going to be controlling your right MFD, left controls your left. So in this case, if I'm not seeing my VNAV information here, what you got to do is press the display menu right here. And here you can see right display menu. You see I've got high nav aids, low nav aids selected, our speed, altitude, and airports displayed. And you can see right here on the window, the bottom left, you've got VNAV. So if you cycle through that, you go off, all you have is your CAS alerts and nothing else besides your map. Now we can press on by pressing that button once again. You can see your outbound leg from Gravy. So we're just about 6 miles outbound from Gravy, inbound to Bucko, about 111 nautical miles or 16 minutes, and showing that we'll be crossing at 12:46. So if you want that top of descent, make sure VNAV is enabled. And there we go. And you can see top of descent now 10 minutes, 72 nautical miles. And it's showing your descent angle here, 1.1 degrees at about 900 feet a minute. And we want to cross Bucko at flight level 310, just given based on our top of descent. So our job is to let ATC know, if they haven't cleared us to do so already, is hey, we're approaching top of descent. Can we start descending now so that we can stick to our VNAV profile? While we're doing that, let's go ahead and reduce thrust to cruise. There we go. We're going to try to hold about Mach 0.74 or thereabouts. All right, that's good. So again, just keep in mind of where you're at. While we're up here, we can also do something that I absolutely love to do with the Honeywell Rockwell Collins here. Avionics suite. So we can go into let's go to index IDX, go to data link, weather, request via the terminal weather, and now you want to type in your airport identifier for whatever airport you want that weather. So DCA, press send. You can see the green letters over request. Go back in there, and we'll wait till it says received, RCVD. There it is. Now that you've got the received, you can press terminal WX for weather. Click next to that airport you want, and now you've got your METAR. So winds are 340 at 11 knots, visibility is 10 miles, few clouds at 8,000, temperature 10 degrees, dew point 0, altimeter 3002. So now, while we keep this METAR up, let's go over to our left CDU and go to performance. Let's go to approach. Now we can start typing in the weather info. So wind 340 at 11. Outside air temperature, which is that first value here after the clouds, 10 degrees Celsius. And the altimeter 3002. There we go. Now we can put the runway slope, put it to 0. You can see your arrival airport DCA runway 1 is showing a headwind component of 9 knots with a left crosswind value of 4 knots. And we've got 7,100, almost 7,200 feet of runway available. We'll keep runway condition dry. We'll press next. Anti-ice will be off for this approach. You've got your landing weight, your landing roll there, your landing distance, 2,300 feet. And I always like to keep the landing factor at 1. Here's your VREF. This is what we're going to be looking to touch down at, 98 knots. And our approach speed, VAP, at 104. So remember, your approach speed is always significantly, or not significantly, just a bit higher than your VREF speed. So we'll go ahead and press send. Complete. Now those speeds should be on your primary flight display on the airspeed side there. So now that that's good, press next, verify everything looks good. And we've configured our aircraft for that arrival. You can also go into your legs, verify everything is looking A-OK. I still got all my values. And I am happy with that. So again, just remember, you have that neat feature on your index, data link, weather, and you can request your METAR beforehand, or you can always just go back to your tune page, TUN, look up your airport or your arrival ATIS frequency, type that in, start listening to it, or put it on your COM2 and enable the COM2 radio and listen to ATIS. But I like to do it using the data link, as it is much easier and it saves me time, and I can configure the aircraft before I even get ready to descend. So we'll continue here, and then we'll wait for, as we approach our top of descent, we'll let ATC know and see if they let us descend a little bit as we are planning to. And as we're cruising along here at 45,000 feet, I'd like to remind you guys to hit that subscribe button, like and comment below. We are on the way to 5,000 subscribers, and we are excited to see the channel grow along with you, our followers and watchers, and we love making content. So again, don't forget that big button on the bottom. It doesn't hurt you, it helps us, and it really helps us stay on track for the bigger milestones yet ahead for that Flight Sim channel. Alright, so just taking a look here at the MFD, looks like we're about 4 minutes away from our top of descent. So just to make a quick side note here, if you feel like I'm going through this a little bit too quickly, don't forget we already put out a video about a month or two ago on the CJ4 where I take my time and explain every single button and menu you can find on the PFD, MFD, and CDUs a little bit more in depth. So I'll go ahead and link that in the description, as well as provide a link somewhere up here on the video. So keep your eyes out for that. And if you feel like I'm going too fast, which I know I do a lot, then go ahead and refer to that video for any clarifications. Otherwise, I'm trying to mimic everything that I've done in the past based on the very minimal knowledge that I have of this aircraft. So just follow along as best as you can, and hopefully we can help you guys out a little bit. I know there's a lot of you using this aircraft now for career mode, so that's awesome. Hopefully this video serves to help a little bit. All right, well, I'm gonna go ahead and give a call to center, let them know that we're a few minutes away, and see if they are okay with us descending. Keep in mind, this is SayIntentions. This is my first time asking for this request with this app, so we'll see how that goes. Here we go. Cleveland Center, ExecJet 324.
ExecJet 324, expect a Freedom 6 arrival. Prepare to descend in roughly 20 minutes.
Copy, we'll expect the Freedom 6 arrival, and actually, can we request to descend? We are approaching our top of descent in about 2 minutes. Exec Jet 324.
Exec Jet 324, descend via Freedom 6 into Reagan.
Descend via the Freedom 6 into Reagan for Exec Jet 324. Beautiful, so they've cleared us to pretty much descend via the arrival, so let's go ahead and engage VNAV. Let's go ahead and reset that altitude down to 31,000 feet, which is our next altitude constraint. And you can see on your flight mode annunciator, FMA, you can see the path, white lettering, letting you know that VNAV is ready to take over that descent. You can see the magenta star or diamond there, showing that we will be shortly approaching the top of the descent. And as we get there, we should see it coming down as the VNAV and autopilot intercept to begin that descent. And if you look at your vertical speed indicator here, you can see that magenta circle showing that we should start descending at about 2,000 feet a minute in order to maintain that VNAV path. So here we go, we're approaching just over 3 miles away. Let's see how the aircraft handles this. Okay, there it goes. There's the magenta diamond moving down. Just over 1 nautical mile away. You can see the top of the descent flashing. Here we go. And we've begun our descent, so let's reduce thrust a little bit. And look at that. We're holding about 2,300 feet a minute on this descent. VNAV is doing everything for us, makes life easy. One less thing I have to worry about. While we're doing this, let's go ahead and pull up our star. KDCA, maps, FAA. Let's go to arrivals. Freedom 6. Once again, we're sideways, so you can see we have a ton of altitude constraints. So Bucko, we have to cross at flight level 310. You see those 2 lines in between the 310? That means you have to be at 31,000, not above or below, at it, okay? So we'll make sure we hit that, but again, the FMS or flight management system knows that already, given our altitude constraint. So we should be crossing Bucko at 31,000. Then over to Drawn, which we should be crossing below 31,000, but above 27,000. So we've got a little bit more leeway. And then we continue going on throughout our approach into DCA. So what I'm going to do is just look at my legs, make sure everything is in there. You can see we've got all sorts of altitude and airspeed constraints. So I like that. It makes me feel good. And I know now that we are going to be hitting all those constraints as we should. You can also see here on the MFD, you've got all those constraints showing in green letters. It's a bit cluttered. If you need to, you can always zoom in, zoom out. There we go. You can see Bucko, 31,000, Drawn, above 27,000, below 31,000, and so on. So we are doing okay right now. And while we're here, let's also confer with our approach for runway 1 for the ILS. So we'll select the ILS localizer runway 1, not the Cat 2, as we're expecting good weather conditions. So there's our localizer frequency, 109.9, approach course of 7 degrees. And we've got about 7,000 feet there with a touchdown zone of 14 feet. This is going to be kind of a half-assed brief on our approach. Always verify the approach plate. Make sure you selected the proper one. You can see the type of runway lighting we've got there, ALSF2. On our missed approach, if we have to execute that, we'll climb to 420 feet, then a climbing left turn to 2,200 feet on the DCA VOR DME radial 325 to GTN NDB non-directional beacon intercept, and then we're going to hold at 5.9 DME or distance measuring equipment from the DCA VOR. Here's your approach, showing you all that fun stuff. So now we got to find our minimums, right? So we're going to look at here. So with a ILS, we're looking at 214 feet with the barrel, or 200 feet using your radar altimeter, right? So that's the height above ground, 200, or your 214 feet based on your altimeter setting. So we'll set the radar altimeter to 200. It's an easy way to do that. Down here for these other charts, so you've got your localizer. So let's say only the localizer is active. You've got these minimums showing for it. And then for any circling approach, which we will not be doing here today, you've got different minimums depending on the category. So just to keep it easy, we'll focus on the 200. And because we'll be approaching at about, 104 knots, we should expect to be on that approach for about 3 minutes and 12 seconds. So about, let's say 3 minutes, let's say 3 minutes, because 90 and 120 knots is showing 224. I'm going to say we're going to be there for about 3 minutes once we're established on that localizer. And looking at the horizontal vertical path here for that approach, we should capture that glide slope at Baden. And we've got to be at or above 1600. So I'd say that's a decent approach. Briefing, let me check that frequency again. I can't remember if this automatically does it for us, but we'll go ahead and do it. So the NAV1 radio, you can see it is auto. I'm going to go ahead and set it anyways, 109.9. Remember, that is your localizer frequency, 109.9. Now, for the approach course, I do know for a fact it'll be automatically set there because we've got the ILS approach put in as we set it before our departure. So we should be all set. Before I forget, don't forget to reset your altitude as you're continuing on your descent. It is important, otherwise the aircraft will just capture and hold that altitude that you last selected. So again, go to your altitude. In this case, I've set it down to 10,000 just to give ourselves some room. We're still at flight level 300 roughly, so we've got plenty of time before we get there. All right, so we've just been told to contact Washington Center, so let's give them a call. Washington Center, Executive 324, Freedom 6 arrival, descending flight level 270.
Executive 324, Washington Center, good morning.
And as we continue this descent, let's go over some other important information that we could find useful. You don't want to find your performance page here on the CDU. Go to your fuel management, and you've got some vital info here. And again, I covered this more in depth in the first video that I have mentioned so far. You can see here, time to reserve. So we've got 1 hour and 6 minutes or 440 nautical miles before we get to that point. Our reserves is set to 200 pounds, but let's go ahead and set that to 450. There we go. And now you see the values have updated. I like to play it safe. Let's press next. You can see your fuel flow right here between engine 1 and 2, what you've burned so far, and then you've got your totals underneath it. Press next. Now here's the cool part. So you can see our departure, Detroit, arrival, DCA, distance overall is 352 nautical miles, and it's showing an estimated time en route of 52 minutes. However, we are already airborne, right? We are on the arrival. So how do we update this? Well, you can just press that PPOS, present position. Press it, and there you go. Now you've got an updated performance page for your trip. So from our present position to DCA, we are about 88 nautical miles away. Estimated time en route with the speed is 13 minutes. And we've got a fuel requirement of 259 pounds. So we've got more than enough gas. We've got just over 800 pounds, or around 800 pounds on the left and right tanks. So 1,600 pounds, I can live with that. So we are A-OK, and we've got plenty in case we've got to do some holding or do a missed approach. So remember, find your performance page, go to your fuel management, and go through these pages, and it'll be very useful in case you're wondering. All right, so we've just been handed off to contact Potomac approach 119.85. There's the frequency on the scratch pad. We'll spit that into the COM 1. Let's give them a call, and don't forget to let the approach controller know that you've got the numbers. In this case, it is information November. Here we go. Potomac approach, good morning. Executive 324, Freedom 6 arrival, crossing 14,900 with information November.
Executive 324, Potomac approach. Good morning, Reagan, altimeter 29.901. Expect the ILS runway 1 approach into Reagan.
Copy altimeter 290901 and expect the ILS runway 1 into Reagan for Executive 324. All right, so they're telling me the altimeter is actually 290901, so let's go ahead and set that. 2991. There we go. So now let's reset the performance page there for our arrival. So approach 2991. Everything else stays the same. Alright, so yeah, altimeter was definitely a bit off on the weather that we got earlier. It's all good. Remember, as you're flying, ATIS will update every hour. So we could have just had the change happen here a few minutes ago. Alright, so Ronald Reagan Airport is just off to our 10, almost 9 o'clock now as we continue the Freedom 6. We're inbound Victory, then we'll make that right turn and then wait for ATC to clear us for the ILS approach. So we'll continue this way. The CDU's telling me unable next altitude, that's fine. We've switched over to whatchamacallit, to flight level change, so that's fine. Let's go there. So we're descending, holding about 200 knots.
Jet 324, descend and maintain 3500, turn right heading 175 vectors for the ILS runway 1 approach.
Descend and maintain 3,500, right to heading 175 vectors for the ILS approach, exec jet 324. Okay, so let's set that heading bug to 175. We'll continue the descent. Switch to heading mode. There we go. Reset the altitude to 3,500.
Altitude.
1,000 feet to go. Start reducing thrust just a bit as well. Let's go ahead and set that speed down to, I don't know, 180.
Exec jet 324, turn left heading 160.
Left heading 160, exec jet 324. Turning left. Let's see how they're going to vector us in here. This is going to be interesting. And let me give them a call real quick because we're kind of flying outbound a little bit too far. Potomac approach, exec jet 324. We'd like to commence that ILS runway 1 if possible.
Exec jet 324, clearance to the ILS runway 1 approach.
Clear for the ILS 1 left approach for exec jet 324. Alright, so let's go ahead and set the heading knob. Turning around. Get ourselves up for a good intercept heading here. Let's set Catherine up as our next 2. Let's see how this goes.
Exec jet 324, proceed direct Catherine, descend and maintain 2500 until established on the localizer. Cleared for the ILS runway 1 approach.
Proceed direct Catherine, descend and maintain 2,500 until established on the localizer. Cleared for the ILS 1 approach, exec jet 324. Alright, let's go ahead and descend 2,500. Flight level change. Let's slow her down. There we go, descending. Bit of clouds here. And really quick, before I forget, you can see I've got my minimums already set, 200 on the radar altimeter. If you need to verify that, press the refs menu. And then using your menu scroll wheel here, you can go and cycle between what minimums you want, your barrel or your radar altimeter. In this case, we want the radar altimeter, and you can press that refs menu once again. There we go. For some reason, I forgot the approach was not armed. Setting it up again, you can see our approach course of 007 degrees. Localizer frequency. Just making mistakes live. But there we go. Nothing we can't fix. Alright, we're approaching 130 knots. Let's go ahead and get flaps 15 down. Get on the power. This thing is going to go crazy now. He's trying to intercept that localizer.
ExecJet 324, Reagan Tower, winds 350 at 14. Runway 1, cleared to land. Caution bird activity.
Cleared to land runway 1 for ExecJet 324. Alright, I'm going to disconnect the autopilot. It's trying to intercept that localizer, going crazy. That was my fault, though. I should have verified the approach was armed. So let's go ahead. Start trimming, setting ourselves up for the approach. We don't need that flight director anymore. Let's go gear down. You can see we're just to the right off center line. Let's fix that. Okay, these are not 11 knots of wind. This is insane. I am crabbing like crazy here. Yeah, something's not right here. I mean, I'm looking at my rudder trim. Everything is neutral. Don't know why we're crabbing so bad for 11 knots. This makes no sense. Oh, there we go. 42 knots. Holy heck. Oh, there goes the lag. Alright, well, this is going to be a fun one. Landing with 42 knot crosswind. Wow. Wow, wow, wow. Was not expecting this, so I'll try to make up for that crappy takeoff with this landing, I promise. Alright, before landing checklist, flaps are set down to 35 degrees, landing gear 3 green and locked, landing lights on. Autopilot's disconnected, yaw damper is off. Before landing checklist is complete. Good God almighty. Look at this. I'm literally pointing like 45 degrees off the center of the runway. Winds are still 36 knots. Wow. Start slowing it down.
Minimums.
Continuing. There's the birds. Oh my God. Oh, good God, that was terrible. Speed breaks out.
RF Rev G, runway 1, clear for takeoff, Blue Streak 5547.
Blue Streak 5547, contact departure.
Oh my God, well, we just killed our passengers and ourselves, so.
ExecJet 324, taxi to signature flight via Mike Juliet Kilo 2 Kilo. Have a great day.
Taxiing to signature via Mike Juliet Kilo 2 Kilo for ExecJet 324. See ya. There we go, we're on Kilo. And we'll continue this taxi until we get to the rump sail. We'll see you there as we shut down. Alright, there's the signature apron just to our 1 o'clock. So we got a Gulfstream there. Check out the Coast Guard Dauphins. Beautiful helicopters. And let's see where we can park the CJ4. Ah, the Coast Guard G550. Ah, cool plane. I actually serviced that one in real life too. Cool looking plane. There's the CRJ. We'll kind of swing around in front of it and shut down. There we are. That should be good. Parking brake. Let's turn off all the lights. Seatbelt sights can come off. Pedostatic heat off. Kill the right engine. Left engine. Close that little flapper. We can set TCAS to standby. Go ahead and kill avionics. Standby flight display off. Emergency lights can come off. And lastly, battery can't come off. All right, well, there you have it, folks. We've made it down to Ronald Reagan Airport here in Washington, D.C. Looks like we definitely killed a few of our passengers with that landing. But again, as I mentioned earlier, I like to keep this honest and show you where I make mistakes. You can see that I was not expecting these weather conditions here and these winds at Ronald Reagan, so it caught me off guard. And once I noticed that crab ankle, I knew I was in trouble. But that's why we do this, right? To practice and get better. Either way, I hope you learned something today, especially with my mistakes. That's why we do these videos, to help you guys learn a thing or two. We know that a lot of you are tackling on missions now on the career mode with the CJ4. And trust me, for a default airplane, you can have a lot of fun with this airplane. So kudos to Asobo for doing a pretty good job. It's definitely a lot better than what I remember it in Flight Sim 2020. And I've got no complaints besides the takeoff behavior. I'm going to try another takeoff here shortly after I finish recording, just to see how the airplane behaves with winds calm and see if it's something that I'm doing or something that I'm just not privy to, or it's just inherent behavior of this aircraft. So I'll keep you guys up to date with that, but for now we'll say that it is pilot error. That is always more than likely the cause. Anyways, guys, I want to thank you for watching. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button, comment, and like. Let us know what you like, what you don't like, and how we can make this a better experience overall for you, our simmers. And stay tuned as we continue on our way to 5,000 subscribers. We'll be there shortly, and we'll continue pumping content out. But for now, this is Captain Gonzo with that Flight Sim channel, wishing you guys all smooth landings, happy flying, and we'll see you on the next one, guys. Take care now.